Welcome to a special edition of the Music City Drive-In. I am your host, Ricky Valero. Jacob and I have gotten together, and we're going to do our very first of many Oscar shows. We're just lucky to have to be able to do this one in person.
Yeah.
It's definitely weird and strange, but Jacob's in town. We're going to go play a little Top Golf a little bit later. But until then, we're going to kick off with our Oscar picks. As always, I'm joined by this guy right here. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. I'm excited. It's not Oscar season quite yet. This is very early.
On the cusp. Yep.
It's very early. We're going to prefix by understanding and saying that these are picks for today. And in a week from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, our picks are going to change. But over the next couple months, Jacob and I are going to kind of dissect the races, figure out where is what, who, what, when, where, and how. And until we do, we're going to try to tackle this the way we normally do, like we kicked off last year. And we're going to kick it off. What we're going to do is we're going to give our 5 in, 2 outs, and possibly one hopeful if we have one for that particular category. So, Jacob, I'll let you kick it off with the supporting actress and your 5 that are in.
Okay, so my 5 right now, I've got Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Amanda Seyfried for Mank, Olivia Colman for The Father, Saoirse Ronan for Ammonite, and Helena Zengel for News of the World. Those are my 5 in right now. If we were picking a winner, it would be Glenn Close, who I think is the best shot of winning. I think, there's a lot of talk about her or Adams, which one's going to be supporting, which one's going to be lead. I truthfully think whoever is supporting
it's probably going to win. Yeah.
But that is my 5 for right now.
My 5 are obviously Glenn Close. That's the Hillbilly Elegy. Olivia Colman, The Father. Amanda Seyfried for Mank. I actually have Yeon Young-jung for Minari. That one to me is a wild card. I feel like if that one gets in, it might be the mistake of not putting your old lady in last year for The Farewell. But I've heard she's phenomenal in the film. I talked to Eric, and Eric said she's phenomenal, deserves a nomination. My 5th one, I struggled. I went back and forth. But even after watching the film, I'm still going to put Saoirse Ronan in there for Ammonite. It's not a good movie.
She's such an Oscar.
Exactly. It doesn't really, I feel like I'm not going to take away from the performances. The performances in the film are pretty solid. But the film as a whole, it was hard to get through. It was very hard to get through. It was very hard to get through. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think she's right around my age, and she just has nominations every other year. It's
kind of a weak category.
Yes.
It's a very weak category. Even News of the World, we'll talk more about that later as well, because I think that's a weird wild card of a film. I think Eric and I were talking about this one night on the phone, and I said to him, I was like, for some of these performances, it would be nice in a year like this to give somebody else an opportunity to be nominated, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the only one that right off the top of my head that it's all right, well, Anthony Hopkins has been nominated plenty of times, he's got to win. But that's a groundbreaking performance. Unless for me, I love Olivia Colman. I've seen The Father, but for me personally, it's not that great, right? Mm-hmm. She's a winner already. She's been nominated. Give it to Yeon Young-jung, or give it to
give it to Close, who's tried 6 times,
right?
Got not screwed over, but got overtaken by Coleman.
Zazie Beetz from 9 Days, not just win wise either, but nomination wise. Give some people that Amanda Seyfried. That would be a cool just nomination in general. You know what I mean? You think back of her filmography, you would never really have said she's going to be nominated for an Oscar one day. So. What do you have right now for your first 2 out?
So my first 2 out, I do have Yeon Young for Minari, and then I also have Ellen Burstyn for Pieces of a Woman. Those are my first 2 out. And surprisingly enough, because a lot of the stuff I do is through Gold Derby, they have their odds and everything. Yeah. Ellen Burstyn's actually in the top 5, which surprised me. So I haven't seen it. I know a lot of people have, but I think she's very close to getting that pushed up to the top 5.
Yeah, she's one of the ones I would say, Burstyn, she's on one of my 2 out. And then Helena Zengel for News of the World was my other one. That's my first 2 out. What's interesting for me there is I would love to see people like that nominated, right? You know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm talking about with these people that have never been nominated, never been in the forefront. But the flip side we have to talk about, the Oscars are probably going to be they're probably going to be virtual, right? So they're going to want to see, we're going to want to see, not us, you and I, but people are going to want to see these people at their houses, kind of like the Globes were, or not the Globes, the Emmys were, and stuff like that. So if they do that, they're going to want the names, right? And that's going to play in the fact we're going to talk about Tom Hanks later too. But
that's you know, I think for me, I think the biggest wild card from this whole thing is Helena Zengel.
for sure,
I'm interested to see, because it seems like Oscars have a big problem of this actor or actress under 13, under 15, throw them in supporting because they're young.
Yep.
I haven't seen News of the World. I don't think anyone has.
Right.
But it seems like one of those things where it's, she is a younger actress. So I think she's only 12 years old.
Yep.
So I wonder if that will be category fraud, or if they will nominate her for being, young.
Yeah.
And
they struggle with giving people of younger ages Oscar nominations, which I've never understood.
That's what scares me a lot about having her. I mean, I have her in my top 5 for right now.
Right.
But what scares me about keeping her in is because, and I understand the sentiment of, they have a whole career where they can have this. Someone like Young Jung or Ellen Burstyn, who are both, older.
Yeah.
It's, they might not have as many chances. It's harder to get roles when you get older, and especially when you're younger, you can grow into it. In my eyes, nominate the performance that is deserving. But yeah, I think that one will be extremely interesting to see.
And for your last one, we wanted to do one special. It's wishful thinking, somebody that more than likely does not have a chance. What do you got?
I want to guess yours. I'll say mine first, which it's not wishful thinking as much anymore. I think she's got a pretty good shot. It's, you think whatever, but Maria Bakalova is getting a lot of love, and it's, I've been on the train of makeup and hair for Borat, and that's it. But she is getting a lot of love, and she is rising up. And then with such a weak category, on Gold Derby, once you get to their 10th spot, it's 100-1 odds.
Yeah.
So usually, it's top 15 have some type of odds. I mean, Toni Collette from I'm Thinking of Ending Things, who, she's
in it literally in.
Yeah. And she's number 9. And so I think with it being such a weak category, and I think with what the film was, and the film will still be in everyone's faces because of someone else we'll talk about later.
Yep.
I do actually think she has a pretty good shot of maybe not making it, but making it a race.
I do think that given the political atmosphere, and as we are sitting here right now, we still don't know who the president of the United States is going to be. If it does go the way of Biden, I do think that might play in the favor of her, possibly, which we'll talk more about the election. And election does have a lot to do with some of these categories and how they play out, right? Mm-hmm. They just do. But I do think that could also help in her favor. I do think that she might be a shoo-in for a Globe just for the first off. I don't know how right now. I don't know how they're going to get. I mean, I know supporting actress is only 5, but I don't know how they're going to get 10 supporting or actresses and actors. I could see it, but actresses, it's going to be very hard, especially on the comedic / musical side. With a lot of the bigger films like Jennifer Hudson's gone. Seemed like it was going to be a lock.
That was a lock for a win.
Lock for a win at the Globes for sure, and even possibly at the Oscars. So for me, my initial, I'll let you pick it in a second. Okay. Because I told you this off the air. My initial one was Olivia Cooke for Sound of Metal. I found out they're pushing her as lead, which blew my mind because she's in the first part of this movie. I know you haven't seen it yet, but she's in the first maybe half of this movie, but then she kind of disappears for a while. Mm-hmm. I really feel like, again, in a very weak year, she could have maybe slid into the 5th role. But now that she's being pushed in that, to me, who do you think was going to be my pick?
I'm thinking it's going to be Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a huge amount of love, and there's two of my wishful thinking picks are from The King of Staten Island. I love that film.
Mhm.
I do. I think that it's got. I think it should light up the Indie Spirits or the Independent Awards.
Yes.
It should, as I believe it should. It blows my mind that if you look on all of these websites, somebody else is not even mentioned on that on a lot of the different sites, and we'll talk about it literally next. But I love her in that film. I love her counterpart in the same category a lot better. But I love King of Staten Island. It's still one of my favorites. It's not my number one anymore, but it's still top five.
I think that's one to where it can squeeze into with the year. I think that could squeeze into the Globes. I think Pete
For sure.
could squeeze in. I think the movie could squeeze in.
Well, yeah, I guess I didn't think about Pete being in there because the comedic. So he's had a huge year. Like
Yeah.
I wish that he would not get the. I don't understand. I don't get the hate. I don't get the hate of Pete Davidson.
Yeah, and it's and going back to Bakalova for me, it's people look at Borat and they say they're just out doing whatever. But at the same time, a lot of acting is reacting.
Oh my God, yes.
And that scene with Giuliani was, that made me as tense as anything I've seen this year.
Oh my
and
God,
to be able
yes.
to, do that to someone who's not even knowing.
Yeah.
And being able to react and act at the same time. I think she actually gave a very good performance for what the movie was and what it was trying to do. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she did start sneaking.
Is it off the wall? Yes. Is it crazy?
Mhm.
Yes. But I love off the wall and crazy. You know what I mean? And I love the opportunity. Again, with a weak category, I like her odds.
Borat almost got in the last time for the first Borat movie.
Exactly.
He won the Globe.
Exactly. All right. So now it's time to transition to, I think, is probably the most stacked category. Possibly, maybe not. I don't know. It's one of them. I'd say it's probably top 3 stat category outside of picture. Picture kind of be up and down. But supporting actor, there's a lot going on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like there could be amounts of craziness behind this entire category.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to let you kick it off with your 5. You lean a lot heavier in one direction for somebody than I do. And that's where I think we're going to disagree, and we'll know very much about that in just a second.
And no, you're right. This category is stacked. I think it's funny because I think when Chadwick Boseman was being pushed for this category, I thought it was wrapped up, locked away.
Right. We had in my opinion, we had Heath Ledger all over again, right? Because I even said this the other day, if Heath Ledger didn't pass away, I don't think he gets nominated. I really don't think. Don't get me wrong. It gave one of the best performances we've ever seen, right? You know what I mean? It was a fantastic. I just think the stigma behind the comic books, it's not even talked about. But like you were saying.
But yeah, so I think this one opens up a lot. And for right now, I do have my winner as Sacha Baron Cohen from The Trial of Chicago 7. Now, to explain, Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be, he's already in front of on news cycles. He's just released Borat 2, which if Borat 2 flopped, that's a movie where I don't think he does as well. But he's likely going to be nominated for 2 Golden Globes. Likely going to win the Globe for comedy. There's a huge chance that he wins 2 Golden Globes in one night. He won't be nominated for 2 Oscars, but he's playing the game that you need to play, and that is getting your face in front of the right people.
And if he is nominated for a Globe as Borat, that is going to be some of the funniest stuff we will see, which at the flip side of that is the Globes, if you're, like you said, your face is in the front,
yep.
That's campaigning. It doesn't matter if he's campaigning as Borat. It's Sacha Baron Cohen, period, right?
Well, and he could be on the stage taking the Borat one, sitting down, and then getting back on the stage again to take the Chicago 7 one.
Yeah.
And so I think he is, for me right now, I think he is the winner just because of him being in front of people and playing the game that he's supposed to play. Behind him, I have Bill Murray for On the Rocks. I have Yahya Abdul-Mateen for Trial of Chicago 7, almost for the same reason, where he just won the Emmy for Watchmen, and he's going to be, in the minds, in front of people. Mark Rylance for the Trial of Chicago 7, and then my last spot actually got opened up recently. I had him in, took him out, put him back in, and that's Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. which that could be switched. No one knows anything about Judas and the Black Messiah,
Yeah.
but that could be switched to Daniel Kaluuya. Either way, I think one of those two is getting in.
So for my 5, I have my favorite performance of the Trial of Chicago 7, which was Mark Ryan's. I just feel like hands down he was the best part of that film, and I feel like they're going to recognize that. I do have Yahya, is it Yahya in as well. He's not my favorite, but obviously this is our prediction. This is not what we want. What we want, if we would have a whole different show we'll have an award show at the end of the year for our picks, and we'll even have our own awards articles out. So this is not about what we want. Bill Murray on the rocks. I feel like I love his performance and it's strong. I love this movie. I love that movie way more than I probably should have, but it's Bill Murray. You know what I mean? That's at the end of the day. Again, but he's another one. I'll be honest with you guys. He's another one that I don't hate being left out, right? Mm-hmm. It is Bill Murray. I understand, et cetera, but there's some strong first-time potential nominees packed in this list right now.
See, I'm on the opposite. I think if he's probably the likeliest one to win of the group.
For sure, yeah.
Because of the loss in translation and everything.
Yeah, like for sure. And then let's see, that was 3. I got 4. I actually have Leslie Odom Jr. For One Night in Miami. First off, let me be perfectly clear. When I saw this film, it's a very good film. Very good film. I feel like that there's not a whole lot behind director. There's not a whole lot behind Best Picture. I just don't see it happen. There's way too many films out there that are just way more intense. But his performance, I need Sam Cooke film with him ASAP, man. I need it. I think that he would give me a lock for an Oscar nomination for, which would, has that ever happened before?
What?
Has a supporting person ever played a person in a supporting role, got nominated for an Oscar, and then turned around, played that person in its own movie?
Yes.
And then got what?
Rocky.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's flip-flop there.
Flip-flop.
Yeah.
He played a lead, and then he went to supporting.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
But I think he is one of like 2 people who has been nominated for the same role twice.
And then my 5th is Stanfield as well. I do agree with you. I do think with You and the Black Messiah, whoever is the supporting is probably going to get the nomination there. It's probably going to be the nomination. My 2 first outs are, I got Sacha Baron Cohen for Trial. He for sure is my first out. And then my other first out right now is I've got Gabriel Basso for Hillbilly Elegy. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm going to stand behind it for now. But like I said, this is my first 2 out. You know what I mean? I think it's this category is very top heavy. I'm concerned. I'm not 100% certain they're going to give 3 nominations to Trial.
I agree.
I'm so if they do, it'll be interesting.
I have been adamant from after I saw it. I was a big proponent in push Sacha and Eddie in lead and push the rest in supporting. That would give them the best chance to potentially come out with 4 nominations.
For sure.
And Eddie going to supporting, I think hurts him a ton because I feel like everyone's already figured out what they wanted.
Yep.
Thought Eddie was going to be the lead. Eddie comes to supporting. I don't even think he's in the running anymore.
No, not at all. I don't just. I thought Rylance really could have been pushed as lead. I really did with his role because for me in the movie, he's one of the only ones that's in it from start to finish with some pivotal talking points throughout. I do agree with you. Like they should have at least tried, even if like you said, even if they went Eddie, Mark, lead, or even Sacha, you know what I mean, or whatever, just had 2 and 2 basically, you know.
See, my reasoning for Sacha is because I feel more as the film went on, he started becoming a sort of narrator, and you could see that in his like stand-up routines.
Yeah,
and started becoming like a narrator.
Stand-up routine. It was it felt like I just watched this the other night. It was like 22 Jump Street. It was like it was like a slam poetry kind of, you know what I mean, like a spoken word / stand-up, because it was like funny but also like factual. You know what I mean? It was good though. I'm also living over. Look, I'm not gonna say I don't love Sacha. I love Sacha. Okay, I just like other people in that film more. But I'm not gonna sit here and say a Sacha Baron Cohen Oscar nomination is not going to make me sad at all. Like,
No,
not at all.
I think that's one of the big things. I think people want to get him in
Yeah.
and get him that Oscar because he has over the past few years really been shifting from strictly comedic stuff to getting into more dramatic roles, getting into more,
I love that switch.
stuff.
You know what I mean? There's so many different actors, and I don't like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, but his performance was solid in Uncut Gems. You know what I mean? Yes, you heard me say something good about Uncut Gems. Let's calm down a little bit, guys. But I do like that transition. Even Jim Carrey made the transition. It was fantastic. And
you saw with Jim Carrey, and I've been talking with my friends about this a lot. You saw with Jim Carrey how much not getting an Oscar nom affected him. I mean,
for sure.
I'm reading his book right now, and he talked like that's one of the main points in his book is trying to get that Oscar nomination.
Yep.
Because it is.
He should have.
Mm-hmm.
He should have
3. He should have had 3. But no, that was. I mean, you saw when he gave, I think, Saving Private Ryan the sound thing for the next year. He talked about it, and of course, it was in a comedic sense. But he talked about not getting it, and it's just you can tell how much it actually affected or hurt him. When he won his second straight Golden Globe, he talked about it at the same time. He's like, at least I can get these. It's one of those things where I feel like if you don't start recognizing, like an Adam Sandler, like a Sacha Baron Cohen, that's when they start reverting back to
Hubie Halloween.
Yeah. But see, I do like that Adam Sandler has, I think, starting with probably the Meyerowitz stories, he has started, because I think he's about to do his one with the Chernobyl director, and then the Hustle, which I think is going to be a dramatic sports role.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be 5 dramas since 2016.
And the biggest thing is what people understand is with his deal with Netflix, they want him to do those hokey comedy films because they are watched by so many people.
Hubie Halloween's already the number one.
Yeah.
2020 Netflix movie.
Exactly. And it's crazy to me because no matter how many times we sit there and say that looks awful, people watch these. It's like that 6 Underground was hugely popular. All of these cheesy, terrible either comedy or action films that they do are watched by so many people because they're not like you and I. We watch films because we do watch films for other reasons too. We like watching. Hubie Halloween was not terrible. No. You know what I mean? It wasn't as bad as some of the other ones that he's made, Grown Ups 1 and 2, but it could have been far worse.
Yeah, so. And I think Netflix is seeing what Adam Sandler can actually do because his next 2 movies, I'm pretty sure, are both Netflix movies, and they're both. Yeah,
because he signed, I think, a 10-picture deal or whatever, and for a long time it was like, all right, we're gonna get Grown Ups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's like, oh wait, he can act.
Yeah, and it's I think they're seeing that because I think they first saw it with Meyerowitz Stories, which was a Netflix movie, and he was getting rewards talk, but Netflix never pushed him because they. It's Adam Sandler, whatever.
Exactly.
But I think after seeing Uncut Gems, they're like, oh, we can start making, top tier movies. Put Adam Sandler, because Adam Sandler's a name. You saw what happened with Uncut Gems.
Oh, absolutely.
Uncut Gems made a boatload of money just because of Adam Sandler.
Yep.
And I think Adam Sandler's a name. Netflix is getting so much into the awards game right now. They're one of the biggest awards studios, where I think now they're thinking, we can put Adam Sandler in these top tier awards type movies, make a ton of money by people watching it, and get recognition for it.
Yeah, because the thing about it is previously not putting him in these serious roles. You see him in Uncut Gems, you see how successful it is. Now Adam has that backing of being a serious actor. Not saying he didn't have it after Stories, but Gems, he might have been 6 or 7 on that Best Actor list, right? So then now he's taken seriously. Now Netflix can back him with some legitimately serious things behind him, especially because you ride that Uncut Gems and be like, all right, his first serious role since Uncut Gems, where he was almost an Oscar nominee, here he is, right? You know what I mean? So I agree with you 100% there.
I think he's going to have a huge decade. But getting back to this and away from Adam Sandler, I like having Sandler 10 minutes.
No, you're good.
But yeah, so
your first 2 out.
My first 2 out. I have Leslie Odom for One Night in Miami. I haven't seen it. I'm very adamant about the Amazon thing.
Yeah,
scares the death out of me.
Yeah, it does.
Where we say Netflix is probably one of the best studios when it comes to awards. Amazon might be one of the worst. And then I did have Tom Pelphrey for Mank.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it, going through Gold Derby, doing everything, I took him out and I put in David Strathairn for Nomadland.
Okay.
I think Nomadland is going to be a pretty big player. I think it's one of the top 5 players when we get to picture later. I think it's going to be one of the top 2 players in director, top 2 in actress, top 2 in screenplay, and ton of categories. And so I think Nomadland is going to be one to where
that's a cinematography play too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one where they kind of throw it in there.
All right, who's your wishful thinking pick?
My wishful thinking pick. I don't think he's not going to get in. He's not going to be nominated for this. But my wishful thinking is probably Chadwick Boseman for Da 5 Bloods. Because how cool would that be if, your last 2 movies both got Oscar nominations, something that he's played incredible roles. He's played Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, or not James Brown. Wait, yeah, James Brown.
He played James. Yeah.
I was thinking of Jim Brown. But he's played all these incredible roles and just gotten overlooked. So it would be cool to see him get, in his last year, get a, Scarlett Johansson double nomination type thing.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my one out.
What about a hypothetical world? Where Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is potentially not good. Mm-hmm. Could we see Chadwick win supporting actor?
Not for this role. I don't think he'll get it for Da 5 Bloods.
And I like I said, I mentioned it just because, like I said, we don't know if Black Bottom's good or not.
We have no
idea. Could be.
I
do think that, you know what I mean? There's a lot of great performances in lead, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that there's a lot of potential within lead for him to get left out if Black Bottom is just okay, or if it's just good enough, right? You know what I mean? Because then it's going to come down to, I do think Netflix is going to push it hard.
I think they're already pushing
it hard.
Right.
So they especially putting him in the lead, you know what I mean? Because so putting him in lead. But if the movie's just okay, there's 7, 8 actors that are really strong in this category. So just interesting. Even if maybe he doesn't win supporting, if he doesn't get in for Black Bottom, I do think that there's a better chance for him at least getting a nom for supporting for Da 5 Bloods.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think they're staying quiet right now, but I feel like when Oscar season really starts to pick up, Da 5 Bloods is really going to start getting put in people's faces.
I think they really would like to put that back in theaters, right? Yeah. Like, I really feel like if theaters were open, I feel like come January or February, Da 5 Bloods would be in, I don't know if it's independent theaters or whatever it is, but
yeah.
I wish I would have saw that movie in theaters, man.
Yeah.
God, still do.
What about you? What's your...
My wishful thinking, and I kind of tipped my hat already, but it's Bill Burr, King of Staten Island. Let me explain something. I understand he's not on anybody's list, and this really pisses me off because Bill Burr in Staten Island is phenomenal. He's fantastic. He still has given out one of my favorite supporting performances of the year, period. But I do have one more. I have Paul Raci from... Raci, I think it is. Raci from Sound of Metal. He's another one that I'm really strong on. He was phenomenal. He gives one... There's towards the end of this film, he gives a few lines with him and Riz, and it is powerful. It's moving. It's in what we call his Oscar-like moment. Again, I don't know what his chances are. I don't know if they're super high. I don't think they are. Sound of Metal, again, has the one thing that Jacob mentioned a few minutes ago against him. It's an Amazon film, which I also think hinders Riz's chances as well, which is scary because he's super phenomenal in that film.
I will be talking about him a little bit coming up. But yeah, I truthfully, and we have to remember one thing with the Trial of Chicago 7. Trial of Chicago 7 is not a pure Netflix movie.
Right.
Trial of Chicago 7 was a Paramount movie that Paramount didn't think they were going to get enough money off of it, so they sold to Netflix for $50 million.
Yep.
I think being under that Netflix, because Netflix pushes so much. I don't know where they get this money from, but they push so much. And I think for right now, I think we could potentially get 3 Trial of Chicago 7 actings in.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Mhm.
No, I don't think it will. But at the same time, it's like one of those things. It's if they're listing them off on Oscar day, and it's like, okay, yeah,
Which
I get it.
I think for me personally, I think Yaya might be, and I'm working on an article, giving myself a little selfless plug where
Yeah.
I kind of go through each one and give my take on all of them. But I think Yaya might be the closest one down,
Mm-hmm.
just because of his minimal time in the movie. He's only in the movie about 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he gives a great 15 minutes, but if one falls out, I don't think it will be Rylance. I don't think it will be Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he would be the one to fall out if
Right. If they only get 2, those are the 2 I
Yes.
think they get. Yeah. Because Rollins does give a phenomenal performance.
yes.
I'm not high as Sasha, but again, I can see where people say Sasha here. I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
All right, we're going to transition to director. I know it's probably a little curveball to you, but I don't know what it is. I like throwing director in the smack dab in the middle of the acting categories. I'll let you kick it off.
Okay. So here, one second. Let me get up to director. So right now, this was my winner. I picked him when I first started kind of taking it, and I will pick him all the way up until the very end, likely, and that's going to be David Fincher for Mank. Aside from him, I truthfully think he only has one real competition, and that's Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. And then I've got Aaron Sorkin for The Trial of Chicago 7, Paul Greengrass for News of the World, and then Florian Zeller for The Father. Those are my 5.
Yeah, for me, I've got Fincher, I've got Zeller, I've got Clooney right now, and I just the biggest thing about it is we know nothing about Midnight Sky, nothing at all really, other than what we've kind of seen picture wise and stuff like that. But the Academy loves George Clooney, loves him.
Mm-hmm.
They love some George Clooney. So even if it's remotely good, I think that he's going to get in. So I got Fincher, Zeller, Clooney. I've got I got Zhao too. I got Chloe Zhao as well for Nomadland. And then my 5th one, man, I battled, man. This is I went back and forth. But I'm going to go Shaka King for the Judas and the Black Messiah right now. For me, there's so many right now, right? Mm-hmm. We have that. I left out Sorkin. We could see George Wolfe, obviously, if Black Bottom is good, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many other picks that we have here, but it's just to change it up again a little bit. I'll go there. Greengrass, I didn't mention him, but Greengrass is another one.
Yeah. I think Sorkin gets in for the movie more than for what he did. I don't think what he did, and I love the movie. I think the movie is incredible, but I've seen it 3 times, and for what he did, he's a stage director. You can kind of see that he kind of sets the camera up and then just lets everything play out, which of course, with director, you have to have a hand in everything. So
right.
Of course, but I don't think he did a lot. And that's what, when I get to my first 2 out, that's what I think one of the first 2 out, I think that's one of the things that is hindering them as well. But yeah, I mean, the George Clooney one's interesting. I think Midnight Sky is going to be a huge wild card. My issue is we know another guy who the Academy loved made a space movie, and not even the score got nominated. And so that
breaks my heart.
That's one thing where I feel like they're getting really away from space.
You really like giving me pain, Academy. You really do.
I feel like the Academy is getting away from space a little bit, which going back.
It was Justin Hurwitz's birthday.
Yep.
It was his birthday.
Which it's funny
because we shared the same birthday.
Getting back to Adam Sandler, that's what scares me about Adam Sandler's, like, not next movie, but the movie after that where he's doing the space one. Yeah. But I think it'll be good. I think that's gonna be his birthday. But yeah, so that's what scares me most about Clooney. But if you want me to get in my first 2 out?
Yep.
Okay, so my first 2 out is Regina King. I believe she might be getting in because she's Regina King. Same reason as Sasha, same reason as Yaya. She is in people's faces. She just won for acting. But what I've heard is the movie, and of course I haven't seen it, you have, I've heard that she doesn't do too much as a director. She really just kind of lets it play out, similar to Aaron Sorkin.
It's exactly what I was going to say there. For me, that's exactly how I felt. There's not a lot of there's a kind of a long drawn out between like in the middle of the second act all the way through the rest of the film. It's a hotel room scene, and that's really what it is. It's not really much. It's the cameras in place, and you let your big dogs do their big dog thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like Sorkin did. Sorkin said, "I'm gonna place this camera in the courtroom, and I'm gonna let y'all do your work."
Yeah,
you know
I feel with Sorkin though, where we get Sorkin in is when he got out of the courtroom.
Exactly right. And the things when you get out of the courtroom, it's really not all that in a bag of potato chips with Regina King. And I like the film. I do. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I do think it's a good film. I could see what you're saying though. You know what I mean? That's me saying that, but I could see you saying that. She's in the forefront. It's Regina King. She is a name, Oscar winner, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So that, again, I could see it.
Yeah, and I think Sorkin's the same thing. I think when Sorkin gets out, like we said, when Sorkin gets out of the courtroom,
it's brilliant.
It's
brilliant.
I still think that the scene between Rylance, Eddie, and right after the scene with Sasha, not a lot of people talk about the scene with Sasha and Eddie and just how Sasha winds him up. That's why I love Sasha's performance so much.
Yeah,
is because how he can just wind people up in the movie and get them to a point that they're just ready to pop, and he stays cool the entire time.
So cool.
And so, but I think the scene with Rylance and Eddie is probably one of the best. It's one of the best scenes of the entire year. So everything, good. And then pulling Sasha's, stand up into it as well, and doing all that. I think.
And then his shot in the when they're out in when the protests start happening, that was beautifully shot too. I think whenever they're on stage, and then when was it Redmayne gets off the stage, and then Bum rushes over there and stuff like that. That was a fantastic shot too, because it's close. It's very personal. I like that as well.
And I think we're not getting into editing, but I think this is one to where if you want to go ahead and put all your money into an award, take Trial of Chicago.
Hey, I can start betting in the state of Tennessee now. Maybe they'll let me bet on the Oscars this year.
They probably will.
And your second out?
My second out is he hasn't been near my list in a very long time, but I just feel like The Five Bloods is going to start getting more and more love, and I feel like Spike Lee could start inching his way back into there. Being with, he just won an Oscar. They love him. They love when he does, good movies. Never won a director, and I feel like this could just be an extra, why not throw him in there, get him another nom, let him be at the awards. Always gives, great talk at the awards.
Again, I think that plays a huge factor into this, right?
It's likability.
It's the likability factor. It's gonna be virtual, right? That's why I think George Clooney's a wild card here. Somebody else I'm gonna talk about later. I feel the same way. In their house, who doesn't want to see Spike Lee in his house chilling with his? He's probably going to be wearing his Knicks hat. He ain't going to be wearing a suit. He might wear a New York. It's just going to be Spike Lee, right? That plays in his favor. And I think a big factor in The Five Bloods is if we can somehow manage to get theaters somewhat open in January and February.
Yeah,
which right now with Free Guy and everything, Disney pulled everything off the slate. I don't know when we're ever.
I personally think that's one of the biggest things that Netflix messed up on. Was I feel like
the release date was awful.
Well, I feel like when theaters open back up, they should have tried to push more for getting their movie in theaters. I know they did with Trial of Chicago 7. I don't know if that was them or a Paramount thing.
Yeah. I think that was part of their deal is they had to release it somewhere, and they didn't really have an opportunity to release it anywhere. Really.
And I think that could have been a huge moment for Netflix to kind of make amends with some of these movie theaters, because working at a movie theater, I remember when Roma got nominated, and that just shattered because Regal used to do every year. They used to do, play all the Oscar movies.
Yep.
I remember going the year before Roma got nominated, watching every single Oscar nominated movie. The year Roma got nominated was the year where Regal said, we're not playing a Netflix movie in our theaters. And then so far after that, the Oscar time for the Regal, we played probably 2 or 3 last year, didn't play all of them. You had to go theater to theater to find them. So I feel like this could have been a huge point for them to make amends, be like, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours, and get the movie into theaters, which would, I think, give Netflix more credibility. And then I think, like I said, make amends with the theaters. That's just me.
Could you imagine if this would have been a year that like theaters are still open? Let's just say hypothetically, theaters are open right now. Netflix has 4 films of Best Picture,
Yeah.
and they get ready to run their Best
Mhm.
Picture thing, and it would have been had to throw out 4 Best Pictures out
Mhm.
there. My first 2 out, News of the World, Paul Greengrass. That was one of my first 2 out. I still think another one that's interesting is Lee Daniels, The United States versus Billie Holiday. I think that's a wild card for me. You know what I mean? I think it's interesting if it's good. Lee Daniels. The rest is history. All right. Who would you want in? That's probably got no chance. I could list about 100 of these, but I'm only going to give you 2. I'm giving you 2, so I'm cheating.
Okay. So one I will say that probably has a chance, but I'm just not sure. Lee Isaac Chung. I haven't seen Minari. I've heard great things about Minari. I feel like Minari is just going to be top 3, top 2 of the year, no doubt about it. I think no one's talking about him, and everyone's talking about other things in Minari. Um, but I think if the movie pans out like I'm hoping it will, um, I think he should definitely be in the consideration. One guy who has no chance that I would like to see, somehow get somewhere, and that's Judd Apatow. I think Judd Apatow's King of Staten Island, I think that's his best directed film he's ever done.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure he will make a better film.
No, I don't think. I think this is, unless he somehow. It seems like he's also another one who's getting more away from the comedic aspect, and then but no, his Oscar moment will come, and it'll come whenever he's directing Seth Rogen in a dramatic role and getting 10 nominations for Seth Rogen or whatever. But
exactly,
I think he would be a one. I think his direction and The King of Staten Island, I think that's one of the biggest things that held everything together. Because I feel like that movie could have been a mess.
It could have been a Funny People, which I love Funny People. I do. But I can understand why people
fell apart.
Yeah, it does fall apart very much so. And I do think that a lot of people's problem with King of Staten Island was it's a hair long. I felt like for me it worked, but at the same time when people say, hey, it was like 15 minutes too long, I'm like, yeah, easily. Like it could have been easily cut. My first 2 out, Darius Mutter, Sound of Metal. His direction, brilliant.
That's a movie I'm really getting interested. I really want to see.
Brilliant. I think it's hard for me because Sound of Metal, the more I think about it, the more I sit with the film, it's like it's inching closer and closer to taking over the top spot. And it's crazy to say that because I love The Father, and Father is one of the and I think Zeller should be, which is crazy because that was Zeller's first film, right? You know what I mean? That we didn't even talk about that, but Zeller being a first-time nominee would be insane, just because it's his first time doing a full feature. I mean, he did adapt a play, but Edison O'Day, that's another film. So I saw Sound of Metal, I saw The Father, and I saw 9 Days, all part of AFI. And all 3 of those films, as soon as AFI said, those are my 1, 2, 3 films of the year right now, right? It was crazy because that fast my list changed, but those 2, I think 9 Days is a film that is, I can't wait for you. You're going to love it. It's just one of those films that I just know you're going to love, and it's going to be one of those films that's not going to get the love it deserves. I'm going to talk about it again later, but it's a great film, and that and Sound of Metal. John Stevenson, Rena Powell. I love Rena Powell. I will swing the fences for that film. I think his first time directing a full feature like that was brilliant. I think that's another name that we're going to hear for years to come. All right. Let's move on over to, let me see what Jacob probably has this up. So I'm going to go this way. Let's go actress. Just kidding. You thought I was going to go actor, didn't you?
No, I thought you were going to go actress. I'm actually all pulled up on actress.
I figured that's what you were pulled up on. So I almost went actor just to be all right. Hit us with your actress.
Okay. So
this one's crazy. If you ask me, I know you've been doing this, but for me, like, this is my first like rough draft of going through them. It's hard to find a solid 5.
Really?
Yeah, for me it was.
Let's see. I'm thinking differently.
I think it's a weak category.
I have Viola Oh, Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It seems like she might be a Renee Zellweger, Judy type of everything goes her way.
Yep.
But if it doesn't, I think Frances McDormand is right behind her. If you guys have been keeping up with my articles, I just switched Frances McDormand and Viola Davis.
Okay.
I think that is going to be an incredible race. And then you also got to think Amy Adams is right behind them.
Yeah. Who's
6-time nominee. And even if it's not her, even if it's Glenn Close, then you've got Glenn Close right behind them. So I think that top three is right neck and neck.
Yeah.
And I think they are there, and I think that is going to be very strong. I think Nomadland is going to be very strong across the board. Don't know how much it will win, but I think it will perform very well from everything I've been hearing. At my 4, I've got Vanessa Kirby from Pieces of a Woman.
Yep.
And I truthfully think that's another one who I think could somehow steal the win. Because I've heard that there is
she's phenomenal.
I've heard there's a long shot sequence where I don't know if I heard she was giving birth or something, but I heard she is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's, Academy loves long shots. I love long shots. And I think that's one where, she could sneak in, not to the nom, but to the win.
For sure.
My number 5 right now is Kate Winslet, Ammonite. That one's going to change. It'll probably change by the time
your next article comes
out. But I've heard the performances are good. The movies, whatever. I love Kate Winslet. She should have won for Steve Jobs. She's my number 5 right now. But who I have at number 6 could easily push her out.
Yeah, for sure. I've got my list is actually identical, except for number 5. I went Meryl Streep for The Prom. I don't. It's Meryl Streep.
That's. I'm just gonna go out and say that's my number 6.
Yeah, it's when you get to that 5th role, you're Winslet right now, Winslet or Streep, and I think Streep wins out just because it's Meryl Streep, Oscar nomination again.
Yeah.
It's
Meryl Streep gets nominated. She got nominated for Devil Wears Prada.
Exactly.
She just they give it to her every year.
Yeah.
I think The Prom is actually going to be great.
So do I.
I was turned off a little bit by the beginning of the trailer, but then it's a musical, and it's Ryan Murphy, and I feel like the more that the trailer got into it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. I am worried. I don't think I've ever seen a film from Ryan Murphy. I've only ever seen TV shows.
Yeah.
Incredible in what he does in TV shows, but that also is extended over hours and hours and hours of stuff and not condensed into a 1.5 2-hour movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just thought I'd go out and say Meryl Streep's my 6. She'll likely be my 5 by the time this comes out. I'm not putting her there yet, but she's right there.
I do think the four are locks, in my opinion. I think they're locks. I think Kirby, Adams, McDormand, and Davis. I really feel like unless the wind blows the wrong way, again, but the thing about it is, for this category, if Black Bottom's even mediocre, I think Viola still gets in, just because it's not a deep category. There's a lot of potential from 5 to, let's just say, 10. But I think the fluctuation there is still wide open. And then we leave open. We don't know what could throw a curveball our way January, February. We've got Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman, which I don't know if that's one of your first 2 out or not, but she's one of my first 2 out.
She's not my first 2 out, but I feel like there were probably about
her and Winslet
5 that are right there.
Yeah, her and Winslet are my 2 first out.
I think for me, of course, it's a Meryl Streep. I think Michelle Pfeiffer for French Exit.
Yeah. I heard the movie sucks, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
I've heard the movie sucks, but then you got to think Sean Penn got nominated for I Am Sam.
Yeah.
He's not an I Am Sam fan. So we got Michelle Pfeiffer, who I've heard she is great.
Yeah.
The movie isn't. You said the U.S. versus Billie Holiday. You got Andra Day. We've got Carey Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. so my first two are Meryl Streep and Michelle Pfeiffer, but I do think there are 4 or 5 that are right there.
Yeah, it's a strong mix of people that really could just say hello.
And hey, look at this right here. I'm on the Gold Derby site. Vanessa Kirby moved up to 3rd. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that 4 is a lock. I
Mhm.
think Adams are close. Whatever way they run it,
Mhm.
that's going to be one. You got McDermott, who I think's probably the shoe-in right now, battling with Davis is 1 and 2, and then you have Davis, and then of course I think you have Kirby in there as well. So you've got those 4. That there's a battle for that 5th role though.
Mhm.
Who do you got as one wishful?
One wishful is going to be Jessie Buckley for I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Ricky hates the movie. I
So bad.
love the movie.
So bad.
I love it so much, and I think she is absolutely incredible. I don't think a lot of AMPUS members are going to get through it. I still think it's probably got a very good shot in screenplay. But I love her. The car sequence when she was bouncing from person to person and giving her like almost 10-minute monologues were given so incredibly. Just everything like she was able to get across. I loved her so much.
For me, actress-wise, I've got 2 performances. I got Lily James from Rebecca. I loved her in that movie. But I've got Haley Bennett for Swallow. Her performance in that is remarkable. Swallow is a phenomenal film. I really hope that's one of those ones that gets the Indie Love on the Independent Spirit Awards. I really think it's got a strong chance there because it's that good of a movie. But those are 2 easy ones for me. Actor. This one's fun. I love the actor category here. Kick us off with your 5.
All right. So, in a last second, actually no, I haven't switched it yet. I likely will switch it. I thought I'd already switched it. So I have Anthony Hopkins, the father, lock. I don't think there's any way he's not getting in. Chadwick Boseman from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I am very close to putting him as my predicted winner for now. I just think, and I hate to say, if the performance is great, the performance is great. No one's seen it. I hate to be like, well, it's going to be a posthumous award, so that plays in his favor because it sucks saying that, but when you get down to the political nitty-gritty of it, it does play very heavily in his favor for being a posthumous award.
Sure.
Then I've got Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. I still think Delroy Lindo's a lock. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he really has a chance to win, but I do think he just will be a lock just for, giving a long career, not getting recognized in basically anything. I think on IMDb, I think he only has 4 nominations total for anything he's ever done in his entire career.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then for right now, I have Gary Oldman from Mank. Very close to switching that with Stephen Yeun, which I'll talk more about him in a little bit. But I think, Gary Oldman, Academy loves him. It's Mank, which is a movie about a movie. They love that. And so for right now, my 5 are Anthony Hopkins, Chadwick Boseman, Daniel Kaluuya, Delroy Lindo, and Gary Oldman.
My 5 right now, Anthony Hopkins, the father. I think he should win. I haven't seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I haven't. I'm not going to say that I don't believe Chadwick Boseman could give a performance that will be game-changing, but I will also say that Anthony Hopkins gave one of the best performances I've ever seen, period. I watched the film twice. I was emotionally devastated by it. I still am emotionally devastated by it. There's just little things about his performance that blow your mind. It's crazy because somebody had posted a thing. They were like, what's your favorite horror movie of the last decade? I said The Father. And they're like, it's a horror movie? I'm like, no, technically it's not a horror movie, but like it's got that horror-like film, features to it. But that's my easily slam dunk number 1. I hate to say it as well, same thing as you do. Again, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom could be a great performance, but I do think that if Chadwick wins, I'm sorry, he's going to win because he passed away. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but I just feel that way. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I got Daniel Kaluuya as well, Judas the Black Messiah. I'm excited. I'm ready to see that film. I want that film right now. I want it now. I got Gary Oldman for Mank. My 5, is going to surprise you. My fifth right now is Tom Hanks for News of the World.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. We all know what 2020 has been in store for us, okay? It's been a crazy year, right? Not only do we have Tom Hanks in the picture, but we've got COVID-19 survivor Tom Hanks in the picture here, okay? And I know that sounds stupid, but that's a narrative. And the Oscar loves a narrative. What better way than the Academy putting that man on our television saying, coronavirus victim, you know, he overcame it. He was one of the first actors that really came out and said that he had it. I really feel like that's going to play a factor in it. And for me, it hurts because I do have my guy that's out, which really breaks my heart. And I'll talk about my first two. I don't even know. He might be my first two out. I'm still teeter-tottering back and forth. But
yeah, my big thing is with Tom Hanks is we look at the last Tom Hanks Paul Greengrass collab
for sure,
and Tom Hanks gave the greatest performance he will likely ever give, and didn't even get in. He should have. If you would have taken the last scene of him getting rescued and just that end,
just put it on.
Just put that. I mean, that was a quintessential Oscar clip right there. Having him, you know, him breaking down.
Such a great performance. Still one of my favorite. Like if I went through like 100, like the top 50 films of the last decade, it's easily on. It's so good.
Yeah. So that's what worries me with that. But for my first two out, I have Stephen Yeun from Minari.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of things saying he could be the first Asian American in the Best Actor race at all, which I think, you know, it's like you said, that's another narrative to where that could be something, you know, people look at.
Yeah.
And then my second is actually Winston Duke from 9 Days. This is who back after the 2020 Oscars, you know, I released a way too early predictions. He's who I had winning back at that point.
Yeah.
And it seems like after all these film fests, 9 Days is getting talked about a little bit and a little bit more. So I've got him as my first two out. I do think Tom Hanks is probably a little bit more likely, but I have him in there right now.
Steve Yeun, he's one of my first out. Delroy Lindo is my other one out. I just feel like when it comes down to it, I really feel like one of the last slots is going to come down to Kaluuya and Lindo. I really do. I think that could be. It might not be in that particular order, right? You know what I mean? I think it's going to be based on how good Judas and the Black Messiah is, and the performance within that. I do think that's going to be a flip flop there. With saying that, Riz Ahmed not being nominated for Sentimental is going to be really. It's going to be one of those that hurts my feelings.
And that's okay. So that's one I wanted to get back on, because I feel like Amazon's going to do the same thing they did last year that they're going to do this year. And I feel like they're not going to realize. Last year, they pushed The Report.
Yeah.
They pushed whatever other Oscar movie that they had that just wasn't any good.
What was it? Clemency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no offense to Clemency, I didn't really like it.
They pushed. I think I'm going to look real quick. Anyways, they pushed a lot of their films.
The wrong films.
Yeah, it's already got the new ones. But yeah, they pushed a lot of their films, and then at the very last second, they said, "Oh shit,
Honey Boy,
we have a player in Honey Boy, who, you know, Shy can get a nomination."
Yeah. The narrative was there. The narrative was there.
It took so long. It took everyone else nominating Shy. You know, we nominated for Music City Film Critics Association. We nominated Shy.
Yep, sure
Shy
did.
started picking up critic wins.
Yep.
Critic noms. He was beating out Al Pacino and stuff like that. He was picking up indie noms. He was picking up, you know, stuff here and there. He was everywhere. He won the the Hollywood Writer Award.
Yep.
He was in front of everyone's face. They waited until the last second, said, "Oh shit." And then another thing I hate, they didn't go all in on him. They tried to go all in on the movie.
Yep.
I mean, the movie's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
But if they would have just pulled down on him specifically, I think he could have got in, even with last year's stacked.
Oh, category. For sure. It's because they had the narrative, they had the actor, they had everything was there for him. The story was phenomenal throughout the entire year. because if you piggyback, it does matter when you're in more than one film. You know what I mean? More than one good film as well. We talked about that with Sasha. Sasha's in the forefront again because of Borat, which is going to help his cause for Trial of Chicago 7. He's just in that forefront right now. And him with Peanut Butter Falcon, the inspirational story behind Peanut Butter Falcon, with his downfall on the set and then the overcoming, et cetera, et cetera. The narrative was there for them, and they blew it. And they're going to blow it with Riz. I know they are.
And
it's sad.
I feel like, in no offense to Olivia Cook,
yeah,
but coming out and hearing that they're pushing her for lead,
that to me was already that's it.
But that to me, that shows me that they're going to do what they did last year, go all in on the movie, try to get as many nominations on the movie when they need to harp down on Riz Ahmed and get him into the 5.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, it's not a director. It could be a director's play in any other year when you're not facing some of the big time names of director. It's not. Like you said, you push Riz at the forefront, and everybody else, you push them all too, right? You know what I mean? I really feel like Cook had a chance at supporting. Maybe she's in the top 8, but at least I think she's in the conversation. But I don't think she's in it now because she's in lead. I don't understand the play there, but you're right. Amazon blows everything. My wishful thinking was Winston Duke for 9 days. Winston Duke, hands down, gave one of the best, honest to God performances of the world, and I really do love his performance. What's your first out?
Yeah, check your phone, by the way.
Yeah.
My wishful thinking, I'm gonna go. Okay, someone who I wish would get talked about more. I'm gonna say someone who I wish would get talked about more. Then I'm gonna say someone who I would love to see in. Someone who I wish we would talk about more. Ben Affleck from The Way Back.
Oh my God,
Still think he gives an incredible performance. Still thinks he deserves to be in there. Someone I'm hoping that we're talking about when it comes up to it is Tom Holland for Cherry. I'm really interested to see what the Russo brothers can do, how they can swing a movie that's not a comic book movie and not a comedy, because we've seen them do their comedies with Community and whatnot.
It's Apple, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm really interested to see because I think Tom Holland's a great actor. I think he's pound for pound with what he has. Yeah. I think he's probably one of the best actors in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, he was phenomenal, the devil, all the time.
Of course, he doesn't have the Oscar nominations, the whatever behind him, but I think he gives some of the best scenes in any of the Avengers movies, like, period.
Oh, for sure.
And so I truthfully think this is one where I think we could be talking about him more and more when it comes down to nominations.
Not to just interject there just a little bit. That's one thing I'm interested to see. This is the first year Apple has some real teeth to the bone performances wise. Obviously, we talked about Bill Murray with On the Rocks earlier. I expect them to try to push some other things from that film. They're not going to get anywhere with it. But it's going to be interesting to see how they act come Oscar season, because they also have Wolfwalkers. Wolf. That's what it's called, Wolfwalkers.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they also have Wolfwalkers as well, which I think is a huge factor as well. I really do. I really feel like that to me is, a lot of people are predicting that's going to be one of the 5 in. I don't know if you are, but and if they are, how they're going to push their films come Oscar season is going to be interesting, because again, it's a streaming platform. Apple has money. We all know they have money, but how much they push to really try to see how to get in there. So that's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, I'm really interested, especially with Bill Murray, because I feel like A24 got to a point and then they won every award you could win, and then they said, we're done nominated. We're done with it. So I wonder if they are going to be the force that pushes Bill Murray, or if it's going to be Apple TV.
Exactly.
But I am also interested to see how Apple TV does come Oscar season, just because of how Netflix is amazing.
Yep.
Amazon sucks.
Exactly. All right, so Best Picture, right?
Yes.
All right, we're just gonna do 5, right?
That works for me.
Yeah, we'll do 5 and then the first 2 out. So go ahead and hit us with 5.
All right, so my 5 right now, first place, my predicted winner, Trial of Chicago 7. Then behind them, I've got Nomadland, which I think is a lock. I've got Soul in third place, which I think coming down to it, Soul could be a very big player.
Yep.
Then I've got Mank, and then actually I have Minari at 5. And I think Minari is going to be, but Minari scares me. It's A24 as well, but I think Minari could be a big, big immigrant, the American dream,
Yep.
all of that. I think that could be a big player come to the picture race.
I've got Mank, Trial of Chicago 7. I got The Father. I got The Five Bloods. I got No Mind Land. I think that's 5. I will say this. This is one that I'm going to throw out there. It's not going to surprise me, and it's going to get some technical things, right? But I could really see a world where I think we're going to have an expanded nomination list. I think we're going to have between 7 to 10 nominees.
Oh no, they've already come out and said that we are going to have 10.
Okay, so they're going to. Oh,
so they I think they changed the rules to where it's 10 get nominated now.
Okay, so if that's the case, the one film I do believe this is going to be. I think it's going to happen. I think Tenet's going to get a Best Picture nomination. I really feel that way, and I'm going to say this for a couple different reasons. I feel like the narrative for Tenet to get a nomination, again, it's not going to be a player anywhere else except for in the sound categories, which I believe it should, right? Obviously, right? I think Tenet's one of the best films of the year. I do think that it gets short-sighted on a lot of different things, but I can foresee Tenet getting a Best Picture nominee because of the narrative of what transpired with Tenet. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. But I do think if we get 10 pictures, I think Tenet could be number 10.
I think if Tenet was to squeeze in, it would have to get more than just technical. I think Christopher Nolan would have to be a big player in director and writing. Don't think actors would have to be there. But, I mean, you've seen Christopher Nolan movies in getting Best Picture. And then, you've seen Dunkirk. Which Dunkirk's kind of along the same lines, where there's a lot of technical stuff, but Christopher Nolan also got in, or Mad Max, where a lot of technical stuff won almost every technical category it was nominated for, but George Miller also got in. Yeah. So I think
it's a player.
Nolan would have to be in for the movie to get a lot of rec. But I mean, you're definitely right. I definitely think there is a world where
if we're going 10, I just feel like it's got a chance. And I think that there's going to be at some point where we get to 8 through 10, where I think a lot of them they're struggling to find an 8 through 10. I'm not saying there's not 10 good films that's coming out this year, not 10 great films, because I think The Father is going to be one of those, because I think that The Father is going to have 2 acting nominees. I think it's going to have a directing nominee. So a screenplay is probably going to potentially be in there. I think The Father has a strong chance as well, because I don't think I mentioned them as my 5. But Tenet's a wild card for me. I don't think it's wishful thinking. I just feel like it's a wild card.
Yeah. And then,
what do you got your first 2 out?
So I've got my first 2.
Technically first 2 out, but if it's 10, so just, yeah.
Okay. So if we were, whatever. So my 6 and 7 is Judas and the Black Messiah and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Judas and the Black Messiah is probably one of the biggest wild cards. Man. We've talked about it so much. But we also don't know anything about it. It could be trash. Yeah. It could be released next year. Yeah. I think Judas and the Black Messiah still doesn't have a release date, so it could be pushed all the way until next year.
I think Judas and the Black Messiah could be this year's Widows. Mm-hmm. It could be a film that's been talk, and then whenever it comes time, Widows was good. I liked Widows, but it wasn't. It wasn't Oscars.
Yeah. For me, it just depends when it got released. Because wasn't Widows released as a summer blockbuster?
I think it was like August.
Okay. But yeah, it just.
But I'm just comparing it to.
We need a release date, and we need it, I guess, just to not suck.
Yeah, exactly.
But those 2, and then of course, I've got a few more, but.
Yeah, there's a few that's interesting to me. I think that. Depending on what we get out of The Midnight Sky, I think that's a player. News of the World could be a player. If we get Hanks in there, Paul Greengrass, we start to get that. If we're going 10 deep, obviously, so I didn't mention Soul. Soul's one of those ones that are in there. I want to know what your wishful thinking, not going to happen, but you want it to happen.
Wishful thinking would be, wishful thinking is going to be Palm Springs. I would love if something kind of a little more campy, fun. I still think Palm Springs has a very, very good shot at screenplay. I think that's probably the only shot it has, just because of the originality of it
For
and
sure.
the twist on it, like the twist on something we know. But I would like to see Palm Springs, or I'm thinking of anything just sneak its way into that category.
Yeah, bring up that damn movie again.
I could have brought it up more. I thought about bringing it. I didn't say it about director, and then I thought about saying it, but
No, you're fine. I know. That's the thing. Did you see that, guys? We have civil conversations about things we don't disagree upon or don't agree upon. For me, Wishful Thinking, King of Staten Island. It's still one of my favorite films of the year. Will be one of my favorite films of the year when it's all said and done. I still think it'll probably be in my top 10 when the year's over with. I love the film. It's a great film. Pete Davidson gives a phenomenal performance. He was also great in Big Time Adolescence. God, I rewatched that the other night. It's so funny. It's a year of Pete between King of Staten Island, Big Time Adolescence, and his stand-up. It was phenomenal. And we see Pete. Pete's getting casted, man. I've seen him cast in 2 different movies in the last couple of weeks. That I'm hoping we see more Pete Davidson, the actor, because he's phenomenal in it. So, all right, well, that was fun. This is the first of many. Like I said, obviously not all of them are going to be like this. We got the opportunity to sit down to do the first one together, which I'm super excited about. Make sure Jacob's going to be writing pieces he does every month where he gives us an updated Oscar picks each and every month. Once we get closer, we're going to start adding, like we did last year at the top of the website. We'll have our picks together and stuff like that. Be on the lookout for news for Jacob and I. We're going to make some announcements for the Music City Drive-In awards for season 2. We did the Whiskeys. It'll be the Whiskeys round 2 this year. So it'll be the second annual Whiskeys, which I'm super excited about.
the Whiskey's double shot.
Hey, there we go. Boom. There's the name of the show. We've got a lot of things planned for that. It's going to be super fun. Be on the lookout for stuff like that. Music City Film Critic Association. We're starting to put our stuff in for that. We should start seeing our nominations. I think they come out January 15th, I think it is. But we start submitting some of our picks, and we're starting to watch much more films. So we're getting excited. We're getting closer and closer to Oscar season. Make sure to follow Jacob on Twitter at tberry57. Give myself a follow at Ricky Blair _. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode, guys.